Organization Change and Development, Module 1, Lecture 1. In this lecture, we will study about the introduction to change and organization development, what do we mean by change, and change versus planned change. First of all, we need to understand what is the change that we are talking about in this subject. Most of the organizations are facing a dynamic and changing business environment. Organizations that learn and cope with the change will thrive and flourish, and others who fail to do so will be wiped out. The major forces which make the change not only desirable but inevitable are technological, economic, political, social, legal, international, and labor market environments. Let us look at this topic in detail. We can see in this slide that the organization development environment is affected by internal as well as various external causes. Let us look at each one of them. In case there is any kind of government changes, rules and regulations, licensing policies, taxation, then our business is also going to be affected. In the same way, the stockholders and the stakeholders in the organization will also impact the organization working. Unions are representatives of employees in the organization, so they also play a very important role in making changes in the processes of the organization. Similarly, competitors who are coming with similar kind of products, services as ours are also big competition for us. Suppliers of raw materials or finished products to our organization impact our business processes also. And lastly, we see that the customers' needs, preferences, taste, and buying behavior also impacts the organization. So we can see that internal as well as external causes affect the organization environment and then hence also affects the organization. So to survive, an organization needs to change from time to time. What is change? Change means the coping process of moving from an unsatisfactory present situation to a desired state. The organization change implies the creation of imbalances in the existing pattern of situation. If the organization is satisfied with the present situation, then they are not going to change. So organization change happens when there is an dissatisfaction at the part of the organization, or there is environmental changes because of which the organization is forced to change itself. Coming to characteristics of change. Now, change results from pressure of both internal and external forces in the organization. We have already seen that in the last few slides. The change in any part of the organization affects the whole of the organization. This is known as the systems approach. Change may affect people, structure, technology, and other elements of the organization. No matter how small or big is the size of change, it is going to affect all these different components. Change may be reactive or proactive in nature. When change is brought about due to the pressure of external forces, it is called reactive change. That is because there is changes in the environment, so we also need to change ourselves. Proactive change, on the other hand, is initiated by management on its own to increase the organization performance or effectiveness. Basically, when the organization top management or the owner of the organization is dissatisfied with the performance and output of the organization, in that situation, it goes for some kind of change, re-engineering, process changes in the organization. Coming to this reacting to change, and earlier we have studied in the earlier slide seen reactive and proactive two kinds of changes. Here we name it as unplanned change and planned change. Unplanned change is a firefighting change, which is a reactive kind of an approach, whereas planned change is a proactive kind of an approach that results from deliberate attempts by the manager. On purpose, the manager wants to bring about these changes in the organization operations. Let us see Few of the examples of planned and unplanned changes. Firstly, planned changes. Changes in the products and services of the organization takes a lot of time. The organization has to do a lot of research and development and come up with new products, add features in the product or reduce the prices of the product. So these changes take some time. Second, changes in the administrative system of the organization. This also will not happen overnight. Thirdly, changes in the organization size or structure. In case the structure has to be increased or decreased, it will require the organization to buy assets, to employ more people, or to remove people and sell off its assets, which of course takes time. Fourthly, introduction of new technologies. Now, new technologies, if we want to introduce, then we have to accordingly train our people. Also, we have to manage the systems of the organization and buy maybe new technology, get updated. So this of course takes time. And fifthly, advances in information processing and communication. If we want to change the process of communication and information processing in the organization, it takes substantial amount of time. Coming to unplanned changes. Now, unplanned changes, example can be changing employees demographic. We want to move one employee from here, one place to another. Of course, it doesn't take a lot of time. Of course, some time will be required, but we can still change. In case there is a crisis in one part of the organization, we simply move people from one part to the other. Second, performance gaps. It can be at individual level or group level. So we want to bridge this gap, and of course it is something which we did not plan for, that we never knew that there will be a performance gap. Thirdly, government rules and regulations. Government rules and regulations, we can take example of licensing laws, taxation policies, and fourth, we can see economic competition in the global arena. So moving on to the forces of changes. Now, forces of change can be external forces as well as internal forces. Now we have understood from the earlier slides that external forces are outside the organization, whereas internal forces are from within the organization. Now let us look at few of the external forces first. So external forces like technology, market conditions, political forces, social trends, economic forces, and world politics. All these are forces which are outside the organization, which impact the organization, because of which the organization needs to change. Like updation of new technology, we also have to update. Similarly, market conditions change, maybe the prices decrease of competitors, we also have to do that. Political forces, in case there is some kind of unrest or there is some kind of changes in policies. Also any kind of social trends like taste preference of people will be impacted in this way. So we have to also make our changes in our products and services. Economic forces, if there are any economic shocks in the environment, we have to take care of it. And world politics, for example, one country has some kind of dispute with another, of course it will impact my business as well. Coming to internal forces of change, and in internal forces we can see first is nature of workforce. So nature of workforce can change from maybe very skilled, less skilled people to more skilled people. Of course the dynamics are going to change. Second is change in managerial personnel, and third is deficiencies in the existing management structure. So in case there is any kind of, we are not happy with the current organization structure, we think that people are not actually working up to the mark, so we might bring about a change in the structure and we may restructure the whole system. Now moving on to level of change program. Now levels of change program can be individual level, that is at the individual level we are bringing about some change. Second is group level, that can be at departmental divisional level. And third is organizational level change, that is the whole organization actually gets affected by it. Now we can understand that individual level changes will be smaller in size, whereas group level will be larger than the individual level, and similarly organizational level changes are much more larger in size. Similarly, we can also make a bifurcation of the types of changes. The different kinds of changes require different strategies and plans to effectively gain employee engagement and acceptance of the change. So this is very important because change is actually resisted by people. The three types of changes that occur most frequently in organizations are: first is developmental changes, second is transitional changes, and third is transformational changes. Again, we can see that the same kind of difference is there, wherein developmental changes may be a smaller size of change is there. Transitional is when we are just moving from one situation to the other, and transformational is a much larger change which affects mostly the whole organization. That's all for this lecture. Thank you.